Hello there, everybody. What Culture Wrestling's Adam Clear here, coming to you live from the auspiciously suspicious surroundings of what was formerly once known as What Culture Towers, and joined as ever by Housewife's favourite Adam Nicholas with a hot fried slice of moment on the lips, lifetime on the news hips. Hashtag good afternoon. I'm on Skype now. I've got to try and make that fit in the little window for a change instead of just my phone. Anyway, coming up for you today, there's some raw viewership news because that's always a laugh. And Adam, what have you got, my friend?
Well, mine's a little bit more serious. The US government has seized like in a little cooking experiment, has seized a former WWE star's home. That's pretty bad.
Well, I see you're slightly more interesting and raise you some more developments in the harrowing story of Sonya Deville and the attempted kidnapping at her actual home. Now, the perpetrator, Philip A. Thomas II, he was, of course, arrested 2 days ago when he broke into the WWE star's house and admitted when police arrived that he was there intending to do a harm. They found him with ties, they found him with mace, they found him with a knife, all sorts. Deville was very lucky to get away unscathed. She was able to escape the house after he set off an alarm. That was the story at the time. But there's been some more developments today. We've learned that the guest that was staying at Deville's house was none other than WWE star Mandy Rose, who Deville immediately went to wake up when the alarm went off, and the pair of them were able to escape. And apparently, according to Deville, only because Thomas had thought they'd both run upstairs were they able to get away. Now, the specifics of this that are now coming out are that he was able to cut a hole in a poolside fence, sat there for a number of hours, minutes, waiting for them to go to bed, and then when he attempted to open a sliding door at the side of the house, set off the alarm that triggered the escape of the pair. Now, this is absolutely terrible. Deville's obviously come out and said, you know, she's very lucky not to have been harmed. She's thanked everybody for the message of support, but this is just genuinely one of the scariest stories we've seen in WWE for a good long while, and it shouldn't make it worse to know that there was another star in the house, but somehow it slightly does. Now, he's obviously he's currently in custody awaiting bail. There's been a restraining order put in place to ensure that he can't approach her during all of this. And I think we're currently waiting on a court case to make that restraining order permanent before we get into the full details of the trial. But Adam Nicholas, this is the worst story we've had in ages, isn't it?
Yeah, this is really grim, this. There's not really a lot else you can add to that other than the fact that, I mean, that must be absolutely terrifying, man. And just the fact that even having to have this conversation, that just is mind-boggling to me. Thank goodness nothing actually terrible happened, and thankfully she's been sort of arrested and taken into custody, because that could have gone very, very differently, to be fair. And obviously it makes it even worse knowing it wasn't just Sonya who was Sonya Deville, it was Mandy Rose as well, which is honestly, man, just horrible.
One of the other details that's come out about this is he was within 4 foot of her at one stage during all of this, where she actually shouted at him, "What are you doing here? What do you want?" And that was the moment she apparently realised she wasn't just getting robbed. Things were going to escalate quite bad. Now, obviously, I am glad this is the first video I've done involving Mandy Rose where I've not got my head mixed up and said Liv Morgan, but I just wish it had been under happier circumstances.
Yeah, me too, to be honest. And I think that just really struck me the most about all of this was just all of the stuff that he had with him, man. I mean, I don't really want to add much more to it because it's a horrible thing. But hopefully and thankfully for the moment, everyone's okay and it's being dealt with as best it possibly can. However, things aren't going to get any lighter anytime soon because we are moving across to talk about the US government getting involved to seize the assets of a former WWE star. Now, this is a complicated one, so I am going to have to refer to my notes. There's lots going on here, but the Associated Press are reporting that the United States federal government are seizing the home of one Ted DiBiase Jr. Now, I should clarify, he is not actually the person who is currently being accused of anything, but I shall unravel the plot as it comes. You see, apparently he's involved in a scandal including the former director of the Mississippi Department of Human Services and others. Now, Ted's brother, Brett, is alleged to have received money intended for the state welfare program for drug abuse classes that actually never ended up taking place. And on top of that, the plot gets even thicker because Ted DiBiase Sr. and his Heart of David Ministries not-for-profit group apparently received $2.1 million from the same source who sent the money for those the state welfare programs for drug and abuse things to the brother. So on top of that, though, not only was that large sum of money sent in suspicious circumstances, Ted DiBiase Sr. again apparently has been paid $84,517 for his part in this, I assume, facilitating whatever sort of money transaction was going on here. And even worse than that, and as if it can get any worse, all of this happened during a time where payments that came from that department they were currently turning down 90% of welfare claims from elsewhere at the time. And unfortunately, this obviously payment has gone out. This whole thing looks like an absolute mess. We should clarify again, Ted DiBiase Jr. is the one who's having his house seized as part of his family ties, not because he's been accused of the crime. In one of the weirdest and most awkward moments of art imitating life, Adam Cleary, it seems everybody has got a price.
Well, if good build of that. If life's taught me one lesson repeatedly, it's that when we're covering a news story in which there are legal matters outstanding and certain question marks over this, that, and the other, my best bet is to go, this sounds bad. I hope, obviously, it's good news to hear that DiBiase's not in any major trouble with all this, although obviously he's certainly not as far away from it as he would prefer to be.
Indeed.
It's one of those ones where you can get lured in by the headline, I think, and be like, oh my God, Ted DiBiase Jr. He sounds like he's in a lot of bother, but I hope whatever this is resolved in a satisfactory manner for both all the parties and, of course, the United States government. Is there anything else on that, or can we just...
I'd like you to give me another bit of news that isn't as serious if you've got it.
Well, normally what we like to try and do is escalate the seriousness and the intensity and indeed the news quality as we go, but unfortunately we're having to rein this one in a little bit. Now, every couple of weeks, it used to be every couple of months, and before that every couple of years, but now it's every couple of weeks we go, did you know Raw just hit a new record low for viewership? And I'm pleased to say Raw has not hit a record low for viewership. It's only the fourth lowest Monday night of all time. But, Adam Nicholas, as you well know, I have said to many a county court judge around here, to many a suspicious jury, it's not about the facts, it's about the context. And while this is not a particularly good result, if you look at what was on the other channels that night, this actually should represent a bit of a small win for WWE. I think they were braced for a major, major hit because, and I've got all the details for you here, the Democratic National Convention that was going on and the NBA playoffs, two things which normally take a massive slice of Raw's viewership away, and they only dropped from last week's 1.72 million to 1.64 million across the 3 hours. They peaked in hour 1, of course, hour 3 was down to 1.5, and the demographics, as Chris Jericho will tell you, are incredibly important. They're not too bad either. The 18 to 49 actually went up to 0.48, and they saw, this will probably surprise you a bit, as you know, the only people who watch WWE every single week by choice are the Michael Hamplets of this world, and yet the 18 to 34 demographic in the first hour was 0.33, which apparently, by their standards, is very, very good. Now, of course, this was the SummerSlam go-home show, so they would have been expecting a bump. Shawn Michaels was on it. Apparently, he would have been expecting a bump, although he didn't exactly sell it. So this is a bit of a mixed news. Obviously, the results are not good. WWE do not want to be in the mid 1 millions at any stage of their life, never mind around SummerSlam. But they were braced for something much worse than this. And by the sounds of it, they kind of got away with one.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, when you consider if they were, I guess we'll go on the assumption they were technically unopposed last week. That's not actually a terrible drop, given, especially given Monday Night Raw's bad records recently. That's actually probably, like you say, a big win, I would imagine, in Vince's eyes for that tiny little drop, because especially when the NBA playoffs are involved and the Democratic stuff, but I imagine the basketball tends to be the one that really steals everybody's viewing. But yeah, not too bad at all. Hopefully, they'll be doing more record lows soon, so we can report on those as well.
Oh, you see, you joke, but we don't want to be reporting on WWE record lows. We want to be reporting on the show being really good and it getting back up over 2 million and 3 million and back in the glory days of 1 billion million like it used to do in the Attitude Era. So this is not good news by any stretch of the imagination, but it's also not as bad news as it might otherwise have been, or perhaps how it reads. WWE will definitely be seeing this as a very small win, but when it comes to network ratings, very small wins are very important, I think. But that wraps us up today. That's all the news that's fit to print that wasn't covered by Adam Wilborn and Andy Murray. But let us know what you made of it all in the comments below, of course, and get a like, share, and subscribe. Everybody here at WhatCulture sends our thoughts to Sonya Deville during what must be a very, very difficult time for her at the moment. We'll hope there is a resolution there. And why not? Ted DiBiase, you can have some goodwill too. As we say, though, Adam Nicholas, where can they get you on Twitter?
They can get me at It's Adam Nicholas, and I believe they can find you on Twitter at...
I think it's at Adam Cleary, Clery, but I've messed that up really badly and can't be bothered to repeat it. The entire WhatCulture Wrestling family available at WhatCulture WWE. It's just me here today. There's nobody in, look.
I know.
Whole place, just me on my lonesome. But anyway, let us know what you made of it all in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning into your hashtag Good Afternoons, and we will see you soon. Goodbye.